Us, what's up? It's me back again, Analog Attack. I'm chuffed to welcome back
Yeah,
Barney. How you doing, mate?
yeah, back again, mate. This is chapter number two, I
Yeah,
suppose.
there'll probably be a 3 and 4, but how you doing? Konbanwa?
Yeah, I come away. Yeah, same, mate.
Konbanwa.
Yeah, very good, mate. Yeah, very good.
Hmm.
As ever, I suppose, I wish I was in Japan because I miss it hugely
Yeah,
and insanely. Actually, it's my second home, as we've probably already spoken about.
yeah, yeah.
But I miss it. It almost brings a tear to my eye. And I hate to be melodramatic about it, but I do. I miss it fucking loads. You know what
Yeah,
I
I
mean?
know tons of people who, they come over like once or twice a year and they can't come and they're sort of really, really missing
Yeah,
their mates and
you
everything.
know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't wish to underplay, the general situation,
Mm.
what's going on. I don't wish to be selfish about these things or appear selfish. Uh, I don't want to be selfish records, to a particularly bad pun,
Yeah,
um, but I miss it. I really do. Roundabout sort of in about 4 or 5 weeks' time, that would be about the time when I'm usually heading
oh
off
yeah,
to Japan,
yeah.
for a good 5 weeks or
It's
something
the
like
best
that.
time
So,
to come, October, November, I think.
yeah.
Weather's perfect.
Well, mate, I usually try and spend my whole allowed visa
Right.
time, on the tourist thing. I usually max it out, you know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
will,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I know what I'm doing in Japan. Some people say to me, fucking hell, you stay in Japan for 6 weeks. How are you not like bankrupt? And I'm like, because I
No,
know how to live cheaply, you
it
know
is
what I
cheap.
mean?
You can live really cheaply here. You really can.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah,
I mean, if you know what, the little
totally.
shops, I mean, it's cheap. You can live cheaply.
Mate, totally,
Yeah,
totally, totally. I know the cheap places to stay. I'm not
yeah.
precious about places where I
Uh,
stay.
uh,
I know the cheap place. And of course, when I was in Konami, I was spending I didn't need any accommodation costs because
right.
she was obviously, I was staying at hers.
Yeah,
Yeah, that aside, I know the little, it's like I say, I'm not precious. I'll stay in a little cabin hotel for
yeah,
fucking weeks on end. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
I get
yeah.
sick of the sight. Yeah, it's really funny because Japan has got this like weird little cultural like schism, I suppose.
Mm,
In that if they see too much of you as an outsider in inverted commas,
mm.
they get kind of, you can tell they're kind of a little bit bored of you. It's like, this guy's still fucking here. So, well, yeah, look at my booking. I booked for 6 weeks. You're gonna
When
have
you
to
go
kind of
there.
get used to me for a bit. You know what I mean? So,
Sorry, man.
but I'm
Yeah.
always respectful, man. I don't. Unlike if you've got Chaos UK staying at your,
I'm sure they're very polite lads when they're staying at home.
yeah, yeah. Well, no.
Mm.
When I saw Gabba a few weeks ago. I think we might have spoken
Yeah,
about it in the
yeah.
last thing, and he told me some stories, and I was like, oh, okay. Remind me never to put you guys up at my place, But
You know. Yeah,
no, I mean, I'm joking,
yeah.
but it's like, I'm very respectful, and I realised that, and yeah, like I say, I don't want to be overly melodramatic about it, but I fucking miss it loads, man. My friends in Sendai, not
Yeah,
only in Tokyo, Yokohama, but
yeah,
Sendai also,
yeah, yeah. Yeah. All right, mate. There's a few things that are left over from last time, and the first one
Sure.
is Stick. This is Stick from ENT and Doom for everyone
Yeah,
watching.
yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
he was sort of going, "Did you ask him about how he got his nickname?" And I said, "Oh, sorry, I forgot." So for
Oh, did
everyone's
we do that last time? Yeah,
no, he
yeah,
didn't.
yeah,
I
yeah.
meant to, but I didn't. And he was sort of like, "Next time." So
Yeah,
Barney, how did you get
mate,
your nickname?
totally,
Yeah,
100%. So,
mm,
So this story has been told a few times, actually,
yeah,
whether people have seen it, but yeah. So basically, me and Stick are like really, really
mm,
old friends. In
yeah,
fact, I'm going to embarrass him and tell him that he was one of the first people that I met when I was coming into Birmingham,
mm,
as a young kid, like 14, 15, 16 year old. Stick was a bit older than me. I'm sure he won't mind me saying, but
yeah,
so you know what it's like when you're a young kid and you start to discover things like that, very vibrant scene,
mm,
the music scene, the punk scene and all the rest of it in Birmingham. Who I got a lot of friends, and I started to know anyone, but it's like, it's difficult at first. You don't really know anybody and you're
right,
young and you're a bit unsure. And like Stick was one of those people that didn't didn't put any barriers up. I met him through a couple of other people, and he like took me under his wing, you know, kind of amongst a few other people. And he kind of set me off on the road. You know, it could be argued that without people like Stick, I wouldn't be in Napalm almost, because he was the one that like took me into the fold, and then I met other people beyond that, you know, and other people beyond that, you know. It's an ever expanding circle, you know. So I owe him a lot. But anyway, going back to the name, so in my early days, you know, I was very fond of alcohol. I mean, I still am, but I was very fond of it back then. You know, now I'm a lot more moderate, you know, in my approach to it, you know. But so I mean, we used to get absolutely horrendously like shit-faced back in the day in Birmingham, you know, amongst all the group of people. So my thing was, I was a very happy drunk, but I was a very clumsy drunk as well. So picture this, you know, I walk into somebody's like flat or apartment or house or whatever you want to call it, and if they've got like a radiator, you know, a heater on the wall, and I might sort of very innocently lean on it, you know, and it would just come off the wall, you know. And it was always when I was drunk, you know. So a few people got very annoyed with me for that reason. But there's one specific story that involves Stick that is actually really funny, although it was very fucking painful at the time. So there's a one night when me and Stick, we'd been out with a few people, we're in the centre of Birmingham, and we were waiting for the last bus. Well, I was actually staying at Stick's, I think, that night. So we were walking under an underpass. I don't know how the Japanese would translate. So, you know, in England, the where you walk underneath the road, you go under, you know, we call it an underpass. You know, so anyway, as we were walking underneath there, we saw the bus over the top of the underpass. You know, we saw the number on the bus. We were like, fuck, it's the last bus, you know. So we were really hammered. But I kind of realised, and I started to run, and Stick did as well. But because I was so fucking hammered, you know, the underpass curved around, and I didn't negotiate the curve. So I just ran straight into the wall, you know, and knocked myself out. And basically we both missed the night bus, you know, because of that, you know. So that was, so Barney, to actually explain the name, so Barney as in rubble, as in the Flintstones guy. And so making rubble, as in making things break, you know, and stuff. So that's where it comes from, you know, that was all.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, clumsy drunk stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell him that we've actually,
yeah. So Stick actually christened me with that. He said, "You are Barney Rubble," you know, and I was like, "Oh, all right then," you know what I mean? And it's just stuck. Yeah, it's stuck. Yeah.
Talking about beers we were a little bit, my mate Darren, he's from Brighton. He told me about a place called Burning Sky Brewery. He recommends it to you. And it's in Firle. I don't know if that's anywhere near where you are.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Apparently it's a punk owned and operated brewery. They have a pale ale called a Rise, which has got punks on it. Yeah, and it's
blimey. You know what, mate? I'd heard of that, but I didn't know it was that way inclined, you know.
I never. He just sort of said, you know, let Barney know.
Yeah, mate, I'll go down there definitely. You know,
Burning Sky, it's called.
Yeah. Great, good stuff. Yeah. I'm gonna I'll do a search on that in a bit.
And the last time we talked a little bit about Inside Torn Apart. I forgot to talk about Phil. I wanted to talk about Phil Vane. Yeah. Because am I right in saying that around this time you two sort of switched places a bit?
Yeah. So basically, what happened? I was sort of ejected from Napalm, is I guess the diplomatic way to put it, for a time. Well, it would have been permanent, you know, had we not come back together. But so yeah, I left, and Dean from ENT asked me to sing on the ENT album, which, you know, I was a fucking huge ENT, you know, person. You know, the Radioactive split with Cars UK. Everybody has their different things that they like, but that for me is fucking it's the best thing ever. Do you know what I mean? It's one of my favorites. Hardcore releases, you know. Yeah. So of course I was like, fucking Ian. I was like, fucking fantastic. You know what I mean? So I was quite, you know, very sort of, you know, great. You know, but so from the ENT side of things, when we did the album, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful or anything like that, but Dean asked me to join full time. I was like, look, man, I've just been through not the greatest experience in Napalm.
Right.
And so I don't want to join another band like full time, you know. And he was like, "Oh, can you just do the album?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do the album, and you know, not a problem. If you're happy with that, then I'll do it, you know." So I did it. I went down to Ipswich to hear the stuff, and it was pretty different, you know. And I was just, it wasn't what I anticipated. And again, I want to really stress about this. I don't want to be disrespectful because I love Dean, and it was brilliant. It's a brilliant experience, you know, for me. But it just wasn't quite the same, you know. It wasn't like that Radioactive split or the thing. The other thing they did after, which I can never remember the name of. The Stick actually played on, I think. I can't remember.
They did that Retribution thing where they a bunch of
Stick played on that, I think. Yeah, so I really like that as well. And it's like, but it wasn't like that, you know. It was kind of a mix between like the ENT and kind of Carcass a little bit. Whilst those two bands I like, you know, it just wasn't what I was anticipating.
Right.
So I was a little bit kind of, I wasn't as excited as I could have been, you know. I mean, don't get me wrong, the stuff wasn't bad at all, you know.
That's good,
but it wasn't quite what if I was going to sing on an ENT, if you said to me, if we rewound time, you know, before the Radioactive split and said, you're going to sing on the Radioactive split, mate, I'd be like a pig in shit, you know what I mean? I'd be so fucking blissfully happy, you know, but it wasn't quite that, you know. So anyway, so I was out of Napalm at that point. So then, like, Napalm were looking for a singer, so they asked Phil, you know. I mean, great, you know, Phil also, for me, fucking fantastic. What a guy, you know, what a great guy, you know. He put us up, you know, a few times back in the day. Really great guy. And but unfortunately, you know, it seems that when he came to do the vocals on the album, he just couldn't do it. His voice wouldn't.
Right.
I think because he'd always done that trade-off thing with Dean, which again is one of a great partnership in hardcore punk as far as I'm concerned, you know.
I mean, so many people have tried to do that, but no one's really managed it.
No. So he just couldn't manage it on his own, as it seemed to me. So very awkwardly, I think the guys in Napalm had to make a decision that they couldn't. It just wasn't working out, you know. So they sort of had to say, "I'm sorry, Phil," like, you know what I mean? And I, you know, I can't say how Phil was about that because obviously I wasn't there, but yeah, it's not a great situation. But yeah, they asked me to go back, so I kind of did, you know, and that was that really, you know. Yeah.
I wanted to bring up, sort of show a couple of records people might have forgotten about, because I love this band. This is Phil's band, the Optimum Wound Profile.
Oh, Optimum Wound Profile, yeah, like the industrial kind of thing.
It's got Phil and it's got Rocky. I think he was in Raw Noise, and then Snapper.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah,
Phil sent me the demo, and then they got signed to a Roadrunner. So if people had this, they were a good band.
That's right. Yeah. Because there was another band also on Roadrunner called Trepan and Pal.
You talked about them last time, from France, right?
Fucking brilliant, man. Yeah, I mean, we played with them a couple of times now. They were like Killing Joke, like Krusty's, like doing Killing Joke and VoiVod and that sort of thing. You're fucking great, you know what I mean?
Yeah, last time I saw Phil, I think it was about, it was 2006, I think. ENT came to Japan. That would have been the last time I saw him.
Yeah, blimey, that was a little while ago then. Yeah, it fucking, you know, that's another thing that fucking annoys me, mate, is that every time I'm in bloody Japan, you know, it's like, yeah, great, I can see all the Japanese bands and that's brilliant, you know, but it's like, I'm never there when, say, Doom come over or somebody like, I'm never bloody around, you know what I mean? So I would have, you know, it'd be great to be there, you know, if obviously at the same time as somebody like that, you know.
Right. So. Another thing, that last time you were wearing the Rainbow Grave t-shirt.
Yeah.
Last time. And literally 2 days later, found the record.
How good is that record?
It is, it's amazing. I'm going to use it to sort of ask a little bit of a cheeky question, because obviously, like, Nick Bullen is on the record, and people have been asking me, well, can you ask Barney if there's ever going to be like a reissue of the early demos and that sort of thing? So.
Well, this is the thing, you know. I mean, personally, I would love it, but don't forget, it's not really my say so or our say so, because that would be wrong to do that. I mean, it really it's up to Nick and Mickey and Justin. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's their thing. We wouldn't actually have the rights to be able to do that. Do you know what I mean? It would. I mean, from a I guess a fan's point of view, from and I include myself in that. God, it would be great. You know what I mean? I would love it if they would do that. You know, I don't know of any plans for them to do that. I haven't heard anything. Shane would usually know, because he speaks to Nick quite a lot. You know, and I haven't heard anything on the grapevine. But funnily enough, going back to Rainbow Grave, I actually spoke to John the other day, you know, because because I did one of these interviews. It was a French fanzine, that they asked me, you know, give us your albums for 2019-20. I couldn't think of that much, if I'm honest. They kind of put me on the spot. But the Rainbow Grave one said, there's definitely this, you know, amongst probably a few other things I can't remember right now. But definitely this album.
If I'd have heard that last year, it would have been on my list as well. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to take them once we eventually get back to touring. I would really like to take them out on the road with us, you know, if we could, if that was possible, you know. So.
Another thing you recommended me to do was pick up The Heresy.
Yeah.
And again, I found that a couple of days later. You were right.
It does sound
the difference
like 500% better than
chalk and cheese. With the
And funnily enough, mate, you know what? I got a friend of mine in Holland, like a metalcore band called Born from Pain. That they are more on the metal, so they are a hardcore band, but they're more on metal side of things. Who've done some gigs with us. So the singer had one of the original shirts from the 80s. Now, I had a couple down the years, but they just fell apart, you know, like a lot of things, and that's, or I lost them. So I got one of I think it's one of the original shirts. It's on a red shirt, actually. So it's the face up to it, the face logo on the front, and just the writing on the back, you know. And so he found it for me, you know, and he gave it to me, you know. I was like, fucking great, you know. He said, so I've got a 1980s Heresy shirt again, which I'm quite happy about. So.
Oh, nice one. What was I going to say? We couldn't remember the name of the Japanese hardcore band, and I think you mentioned this on the guy from Fucked Up, Damien. You were trying to think of the name of the band. So Brian from Drop Dead, his theory is that you were thinking of Gas Tank.
Yeah, it might be gas. I think Gas Tank. Yeah.
Sort of quite glammy looking.
Yeah, it was Gas Tank. Yeah, it was probably Gas Tank I was talking about. I was thinking about it after the fact, and I couldn't. There was one band who had a really, really old 7-inch. You know, it was like early 80s, I think. You know, and it probably is Gas Tank, but I'm still thinking it's somebody else. Do you know what I mean? You know, I was thinking to myself, was I thinking about Auto? But it wasn't Auto.
No,
you know,
it wasn't like the more like ADK stuff, like the really
really early band, you know. But anyway, I'd drive myself mad fucking thinking about it, you know what I mean? So,
I suppose the sort of big news last week was that Relapse Records, they reissued Gizm Detestation.
Did they now?
Officially.
I didn't know that.
Well, there was a big thing. What happened was they reissued it vinyl, cassette, CD, and they sort of did these really limited color vinyl versions with a bonus 7-inch, and it crashed their website, their homepage, because so many people were trying to order this limited edition, and it was quite ridiculous. They obviously didn't, you know,
they didn't anticipate. You would think with all that experience they would anticipate something.
Well, it was funny. All these people were just going mental. I'd sort of been up all night refreshing my browser, and I couldn't. It was just mental. It was just.
Yeah. I'm surprised Sakivi gave gave the go ahead for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time
if I'm completely honest,
Yeah. Well, it got me thinking about the sort of limited edition, color vinyl, all that. Because I know, like, with Napalm, I mean, all the stuff has a lot of color variants and everything, right? That Century Media.
Yeah, well, actually, for the new album, I did about 30 colors.
Right, but you can get them though, right? They make enough that you can get them,
Yeah, they don't make huge amounts,
right.
but they make enough that you can get them. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So that kind of made me think about that a little bit. I mean, they really do sort of
I mean, the thing is, it's a tricky one because you know what? Here's I have a bit of a I have a bit of an ethical perspective to this, because I think that there's always pressure sometimes from record labels to do these stupid formats, like they want to do a box with all this crappy plastic stuffing, and I will say this, I fully recognize the problem with plastics out there, and we've got to try and stop. Right. We've got to alleviate, we've got to we've got to sort of not produce the kind of minuscule solid plastic lump stuff that like looks okay for 5 minutes and then ends up in the bin. You know what I mean? Yeah. Of course, if it's a record, then that's different. Because it's gonna sit on somebody's shelf for years and years and years. It's not going to go into landfill. You know what I mean? But so I'm all right with all the colours and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why we do so many, because I don't want to resort to doing these bloody stupid do a keyring. I don't want to do a fucking keyring. You know what I mean?
People,
or something
people
like.
Seem to like. I mean, I see all the time that people buying the box sets and everything. I don't get it myself. It appeal to me.
Yeah, I mean, I get it if it's all legit fucking material, and it's just the records or the CDs in a box, then that's all right. But I'm talking about all the crap, Oh, why don't you do a plastic this or a little plastic trinket thing? It's like, well, why do I really want to clog up landfill with more of that stuff? Like, you know what I mean? No, That's just my thing anyway. I don't know what other people feel about it.
Yeah, it's funny because with the new Napalm album, I ordered it from Tower. We've still got Tower Records here, So I ordered it from them, which I know. Yeah, I think it's mad, really. Mad. And they actually sell records as well. So, yeah. I mean, I think the gold vinyl, which I just happened to order, it got put back a little bit. So I just cancelled it and got the just black vinyl instead.
Yeah. Mate, you know what's mad about all that vinyl stuff? So, like, what Napalm always has to do things 100%. So rather than settling for the distributors just putting it out there as the description of the colour, so I gave a subtitle for every colour.
I noticed that.
Yeah. That's all me.
Everything that is gold. I forgot what it was called.
Everything. Yeah, it's something like everything that. I can't remember.
I noticed everyone had a different name though. I was like,
everyone had a different name. I did all that, man. Yeah. I'll tell you what, mate. I've never had such a fucking headache as I did doing all that, trying to come up with these really prophetic, and profound sort of
like colour.
Yeah.
All right. So last time we were sort of talking about the really sort of underground stuff at the Mermaid and all that.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit curious about the sort of other side of the coin a little bit because VoiVod and Slayer. I love those bands. I'm just sort of wondering what it was like touring with those bands.
Yeah. So well, for VoiVod, what you got to remember about VoiVod is that they come from a similar background. Well, they also came from the punk scene. Yeah. They were, that's where they were part of that. So, and I'll tell you what, mate, purely on a personal level, those guys are fucking sweethearts. Yeah, you know what I mean? They are such good people. And I'll tell you something else for nothing. The thing is with bands is that a lot of people don't see. I would suggest that in the high 90% of bands on this earth are not easy rides, so because it's a collection of human beings, with different perspectives and different quirks. So you always get tension in bands. It's almost unavoidable. But I'll tell you what, they're that very small percentage of bands on this earth who get along all the time.
Right.
I've never seen those guys not get along. They're super friendly to each other. They're very tolerant of each other. They are. I never saw them have even the hint of a crossword, you know, between each other, and that's great, you know, if you can achieve that, you know.
Right.
Obviously, makes for an easier sort of collaboration, cooperation, you know.
Oh, I love that band. One of my favourites. I mean,
Yeah, great, fantastic. What was the other band you mentioned?
Slayer.
Yeah,
Did you join the
Slayer.
last farewell?
Yeah, we did. It was a strange thing because we stuck out like a sore thumb a little bit on that bill. You know, we were kind of the noise band, you know, amongst all these sort of reasonably easy to digest bands, you know. So, mate, and we went out on a limb. You know, we were the first band on. We got half an hour, 25 minutes, half an hour. And mate, we just went for the total Scandinavian noise attack, you know, fucking thing. Yeah. You know, it wasn't, we were definitely the Stockholm's Mangle, you know what I mean? But to coin a phrase, you know, but so mate, we just went for it, you know, and it was strange because obviously most of it was fucking amphitheaters, you know. I mean, venues that were almost completely alien to us in our own right, you know. But obviously, this being their farewell tour, kind of like generated a lot of interest. So they were playing these pretty big venues. Right. So we would be the first on, usually around about 2-3 in the afternoon, for half an hour, and mate, we'd just fucking go for it. So. So obviously, you would get a smattering of people who knew Napalm, who'd come to see Napalm, and then you get another set of people who didn't know Napalm but were kind of like, "Fuck, this is actually." Was really wild and I'm into it. But then there would be obviously a certain section of people would be like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, you know what I mean? So it was quite funny. It was quite humorous in a lot of ways because we would just laugh, you know, we just fucking went for it, you know. And who
was on the bill? Like apart from
oh God, it was a Testament, Anthrax, Lamb of God and Slayer, you know, so very much beyond us. I would suggest that the more mainstream end of metal, definitely, you know. But I have to say this, you know, so with a tour like that, the size of it, you know, with crew sizes that we could never imagine, you know, as a band. I mean, we take a sound guy usually and very, very occasionally one crew guy with us. Apart from that, we're self-contained, you know. So, you know, it was unreal almost. But I have to say that the potential for us being dicked about was high on that tour, but they were brilliant. You know, they treated us. They treated us really, really well. You know, they none of the bullshit you would sort of anticipate with big tours. You know, they were really nice to us. You know, they didn't give us any shit. You know, as long as we got on stage at the time when we were supposed to be on, and we got off by our sort of end time, they didn't give us any shit. You know, and Slayer themselves, to be honest, you didn't really see them that much. They would kind of, they probably had hotels off site and stuff, which we didn't. You know, we were on site all the time. But the only, I mean, I knew the drummer for that particular lineup, Paul Bostaff. I'd known him for years. I knew Gary Holt, you know, for years. Kerry King, you'd see him every once in a while, but he didn't really say much, you know. He just kind of milled about and did his thing, you know, which is fine, you know. We respect his space, you know. Tom Araya was like really nice, you know. He kind of, again, didn't see huge amounts of him, but he always made a point of when he was about kind of coming and saying hello and all the rest of it. So yeah, it was weird. I mean, I get asked, you know, after we did that tour. People would ask my opinion on what I thought about Slayer, you know, calling it a day. And I'm really kind of, I'm neutral about it. I don't have an opinion on it, to be honest, because I think that if they come to the conclusion, the decision that it was their time to call it a day, then that's their decision. You know what I mean? I saw them on Hello Eights, you know, I saw them. Yeah, I did, yeah. And mate, and once I seen on Hello Eights, I saw them on Raining Blood, you know, and that for me gives me everything I need to know about Slayer, you know, and so they made their mark on me personally as a music appreciator of music. So you know, I don't need to get misty-eyed about it. You know, I just think it's a neutral thing for me. If they decided, then good for them. You know, whatever's clever. You know,
So, mate, you've just been up in Birmingham, I hear.
Yes, yeah.
What have you been up to up
Yeah,
there?
What's that, mate?
What have you been up to in Birmingham?
Yeah, I was actually doing some vocals on the next Municipal Waste album, you know, whenever that might come. So yeah, they just asked me to do some. It wasn't much actually. It was a few lines, and so yeah, you know, I'll always help out, you know, where I can. So it's not a problem, you know. I'm kind of a jobbing, you know, sort of. You know, people need some shouting, and they'll drop me a line, you know. So.
Yeah, so I knew you'd been to Birmingham, so I picked out 4 records from Birmingham. Let's see what you think.
Go on then.
Some of them are obvious. Some of them are not obvious, but
yeah,
this is an obvious one. But
oh, mate, well, see, if we're going to talk about punk, you know, that started it for me.
Yeah,
you know, that's what, you know. I mean, I could gush about Discharge all day long. But the fact remains, it's actually GBH that started me on the path to punkdom, almost, you know, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd heard 70s punk before that, and I liked it, you know, but once I heard Let the Bristle Studs and Acne, although I wasn't anticipating playing music at that point, I was still very young, 12, 13, 14, it got me thinking, you know what, maybe I could do this. This sounds like it's something I could do. And that album, to me, at the time, I was like, fuck me, this is Cavemen playing on with dinosaur bones on like whatever.
Oh, it's so good. It just sounds just as good. I played it earlier. It just sounds just as good now as it did like back then. It's like,
mate, isn't the sound great on that album?
Oh, the bass and everything, and it's just perfect. It's like perfect production. Every song is just.
Every song is a fucking blazer.
One after the other, like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, oh, totally, mate. And mate, it's that, like I say, you know, definitely the sort of the punk that we know and love the most. That album started me on that particular journey, 100%. You know?
Well, it was funny because I'd sort of come from Motorhead, and then went to sort of Crass, and then I heard that, and I was like, this sort of sounds more like Motorhead.
Yeah.
And sort of Crass, and it was like a sort of bridge.
Yeah, definitely.
Between both of those.
Definitely. I mean, I think if you ask GBH, you know, I mean, I know the GBH guys. I think if you asked like Colin, Ross, Jock, they'd say, you know, if it wasn't for Motorhead, you know, we wouldn't sound like we did, you know.
I always thought
both them and Discharge.
Yeah, I always thought Colin had a bit of a sort of Iggy sort of cadence to his vocal delivery a little bit.
Yes. So Colin was, for me at least, I mean, obviously he's not here to speak for himself, but he always struck me as being a hybrid between the kind of the sort of the Clash, but then striving for that Motorhead faster. So he was like pulling in 2 directions. Right. I mean, I know Colin, you know. Yeah. You know what? Colin is the biggest fucking Elvis nerd in the universe. Yeah. I mean, also that, don't forget, because if you're really going to drill down into this stuff, Elvis was also a massive inspiration, you know, for that. That's definitely the 70s punk side of things, you know. Don't forget Elvis at the time, when he was doing his thing, that was considered like very anarchic, you know, in a lot of ways. You know, you gotta try and put yourself in the mindset of the day, you know what I mean? Him sort of Elvis gyrating on stage and all the rest of it, to us now seems like a nothing, you know, but back then it was very controversial, you know, in a lot of ways.
I was looking at some old video the other day of like GBH back in the day, and Colin was quite a sort of flamboyant performer for that era, whereas most people were sort of holding the mic. He was sort of all over.
Mate, definitely, you know, definitely, yeah. And like I say, I know Colin. You know, it's like he's you know, he's into that rock and roll side of things, you know, and that gave birth to that sort of the thrust, a certain element of the thrust of 70s punk, you know, but then. You know, once Clay Records and all that stuff came along, then, you know, they were looking for the next fastest. And, of course, Exploited were a part of that as well, you know, driving that forward musically. So.
Well, did you know that GBH, Discharge and Exploited, they toured together in Japan?
They did. They did,
amazing. They played like a 300 capacity little place.
Oh, you went?
I went to.
Mate, I didn't.
It was
I didn't see
amazing.
him back.
We all went drinking afterwards. I went with Watty. It's Watty, Bones. I forget who else in that.
Mate, I bet that was
a good night.
I bet that was a night with a few stories. You know.
Yeah. They made him put on the old. What's the name of that video? Like the old with all the old with the addicts on it and everything. One of those.
Yeah, the UK, well, not what
UK decaying.
UK
Watty was giving a commentary on every band.
Yeah,
it was pretty funny.
Yeah, but it's great. You know, I mean, we've done some shows with Exploited in the last few years as well. You know, and it was always an interesting. Well, I was actually. Here's a little story for you. I was there when Watty had his heart attack. You know, I was. So basically, we just. Had we already played, or we were going on after them? But he fucking. We were in Spain basically, and what he kind of mid-set like come bundling off the stage, and I was sitting in like a little area, and what he sat down opposite me on the thing, and he was like, "Fucking hell, you know, I don't feel right." You know, I was like, "You're all right, man," you know. And they got there. They were so concerned about it, they got an ambulance, you know, and subsequently, they found out he'd had a massive heart attack. You know what I mean? So
on stage, eh?
It's pretty wild. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
All right, the next one. Don't know. I think you might like this one as well.
Oh, Sad Rings of Destiny.
Well, just Judas Priest, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. See, here's the thing, man. I mean, you know, I do like that stuff, but it was never as important to me as what it was to a lot of other people. See, I mean, we might have spoke about this time. So here's the thing: when that period, like the 70s, early 80s, when I started to really get the music and rock, hard rock, started to gain traction with me. Motorhead was my band, and everything else kind of came a distant second, you know. So I did like the band. I liked them quite a bit, actually, but they could never live up. They were kind of trailing in Motorhead's shadow a little bit, you know what I mean? So I just wondered. But you know what, mate?
Go ahead, mate.
Mate, British Steel for me. What an album that is.
That's my favourite as well. That one and Hell Bent for Leather.
Which was went under a different name in Europe, of course. It was
Killing Machine.
Yeah,
it was Killing Machine in England, but in America it was Hell Bent for Leather.
Hell Bent for Leather. Hell Bent for Leather. Which is strange when you consider, you know, there's always this perception about the moral right wing in America at the time. Any homosexual references were probably not go down too well. So it's quite hard, you know. How it was,
no Killer Machine, but that's one of my favourite. The next two could go either way. I don't know. Let's see what you think. Steel Pulse.
Oh, mate, Handsworth Revolution.
Yeah.
Mate, I was talking about this with somebody the other day.
Really?
Mate, I love Steel Pulse.
Oh, me, Tyson goes through all the time. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, don't forget, I'm from Great Bar, which is next, more or less, you know, right down the road from Handsworth. So I used to go to blues parties in Handsworth back in the day, you know, with friends, Zit and Al, old hippie friends of mine, you know. So I know only too well. Yeah, I love Steel Pulse. I love them, actually. I was actually just listeing to them a few days ago. Handsworth Revolution.
There you go. Let's see how it goes. The last one I'm not sure about. Let's see. This is the last one, but
mate, I mean, it would be really off of me to be dismissive of that album, mate. We're all music fans here, and as far as pop rock album goes, that is a fucking blinder.
It's a masterpiece, I think.
And mate, here's the thing: if we're going to talk about one specific part of putting out records, that my dad had the gatefold. You know, the is that the gatefold?
It is
with the flying saucer thing in the middle of it.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah,
beautiful,
mate. My dad also was a huge fan of that album. Me and my dad used to listen to that album. Yeah, so mate, you got no arguments from me on that.
And I don't know if your dad did this as well, but the Spaceship.
Yeah, Untouched. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, my dad had that one. Yeah. Mate, you're going to get no argument from me on any of the stuff that you've just produced, you know.
Excellent. I was reading this thing the other day, because I don't know if I dreamt this, but are you into the prog rock? And were you doing like prog rock reviews at one point?
Yeah. Here's the thing. So I like a lot of things, it was kind of over exaggerated a little bit. You know, I like quite a bit of it, but like a lot of things, there's a lot of it that I'm like, you know what I mean? But you know what, mate? Things like early Genesis, you know, yes. And mate, and also we're talking about the traditional prog rock stuff now. If you want to, so mate, Gong as well. Mate, I was fucking mad for Gong. You know, I'm absolutely mad for him.
Well, all the punks at the Squat where I used to
loved Gong.
Like Amoebics, and then Hawkwind and Gong and Motorhead. We loved all that and stuff.
Totally, mate. Yeah, totally, because it was so, all the psychedelic stuff was so otherworldly. It was so hard to pin down almost, and I think that's why a lot of the punks really loved it. You know what I mean? It was that. And who was the other band that was around at the time?
I tell you what, Stick is a big fan. Here and Now.
Yeah.
And Tentacles is another one.
Osric Tentacles, mate. I love the Osric Tentacles.
They used to play all the free festivals and everything, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Another band, not necessarily a prog band, but they were kind of a goth band for the time. Was Play Dead. Do you ever remember Play Dead?
I've got a few of the records. I love them as well.
Fucking fantastic, you know.
Yeah, and that sort of
mate, my memory banks is coming on fire right now, man. You know.
And I thought I read that somewhere, and then it sort of got this other article where you were talking about like soft rock.
I like
Journey and Foreigner.
Well, I mean, we were just talking about ELO, pop rock, and like great songwriting. I mean, you know, we can have our arguments with that. Sometimes the way that was corporatized, you know, and it was made into something that kind of went against the beauty of the songwriting, you know. And I know that might sound a bit like overly dramatic to people, but it means something to me. You know, because I think corporate intervention in music was disastrous, you know, in a lot of ways. And so I'm very critical of that, but you can't take it away from some of the bands that in pure musical terms, you know, I think, you know.
Yeah, so I think Journey, Raised on Radio, and Foreigner 4 were your two favourites.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put in my tip for the soft rock crown.
Oh yeah, REO Speedwagon,
And it's got lyrics about Vietnam and stuff on it.
Yeah, definitely, mate, definitely.
So if anyone's watching,
for sure, mate, early. All the like Toto albums as well. That's like jazz, you know, mixed with bloody, you know. So it's all good stuff. You know what, mate? We're music lovers. You know, we don't pin ourselves down to like one particular thing. Although we have the greatest. You know, obviously my great love is chaotic, noisy music. You know, that's always going to be my main thing, you know, so.
But it's when you're young, it's tough when you're young, though, isn't it? You sort of tend to not follow the crowd, but it's like, when you get old, it's like your mind's just so open. I mean, I'm open to sort of everything now that I'm older, you know, it's like. But I've always loved ELO. Like,
definitely, mate. There's no wrong with that, you know what I mean? It's, I mean, like, if people just think of it in terms of, I guess, the purity of music, you know, that should never be forgotten. You know, don't forget, I always look at it like this. Music is one of the last bastions of freedoms that we got. You know, it defies race, it defies age, it divides all the barriers that have been put up amongst human beings. It climbs over all of those. It vaults over it. You know what I mean? So, and it's great that it's as subjective as it possibly could be. So one person's love is another person's, you know, complete rejection, and that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. You know, we should be able to be critical like that. Music encourages that by its very nature. You know what I mean? Mate, to be honest, most of the people I grew up with, who are my great friends, who continue to be great friends, if I put on like fucking hell, I don't know, equalizing distort, you know, they'd be like, take this off now, you know what I mean? You know, and that's the great thing, you know.
Yeah. All right, mate. So last time we had a look at the sort of 90s albums. On Death, right? So if you don't mind.
No, mate.
About 20 years.
Yeah, go for it, mate. You know, whatever.
So if you've got any stories or memories about any of these records.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
20 years ago, So Enemy of the Music.
Oh yeah, bloody hell, yeah. So like a lot of people have suggested that was like a bit of a rebirth for us in some ways. You know, I kind of, I would agree with that to a point, but I don't think it's as being obviously the person that was, you know, part involved in that. Then it wasn't as much of that as what people suggest it was. You know, I think the albums before that weren't as far removed as what people suggest. You know, but yeah, and I mean, basically, I remember having a specific phone conversation with Shane. You know, I phoned him up one day. And I said, Shane, you know, look, it's really time for us to do another out of the gates kind of full on fucking, you know, speed attack sort of, or at least on that trajectory, you know. And that's how Enemy came about, really, you know. And there's also a myth about it, you know, that a lot of people have suggested it's a singular attack on Earache Records, you know, like ideologically, but it's not, you know, it's not. Definitely, there was some issues, you know, it was particular prickly issues with Earache at the time, but it was more of a commentary on the way, what we were just talking about, the way the corporate record industry had become so powerful, it was almost dictating the landscape, the creative landscape. And we were like, amongst many other people, you know, we were like, sorry, but this is not acceptable. You know what I mean? It's stifling our ability to spread our wings, you know, to express ourselves as independent bands. I wasn't specifically referring to Napalm. I was talking in a wider sense, you know. So yeah, you know, but yeah, musically it was on the nail, I think.
Yeah,
you know.
I played it last night. It's a ripper. I noticed as well that it didn't come out. The vinyl's on Secret Records, which I got a bit of a kick out of.
Yeah. Clive, a Secret do a lot of our stuff now. Yeah. See, it always goes full circle, mate. We're back on those bloody punk labels. I was trying to
get a little link from every record that would kind of link up with something else. Oh, bloody hell, it's like Secret Records. So Mid did the artwork as well, right?
That's right. Yeah, Mid did the artwork. Yeah. Good old Mid, love him. Again, another guy. Him and Lego, and well, all the other guys, Snapper, you know, from Deviated Instinct. I love them. I love them to bits, you know. I really do, as people, you know.
Beautiful. So that was 2000, and then like, I guess this one was next one. Order of the Leech, 2002.
Yeah. I think. See, that album doesn't very get Enemy. If you group those albums together, Order of the Leech doesn't get half spoken about as much as what Enemy does, but I think Order's also like a good accompanying album to Enemy. I think it's as strong, you know. I would personally suggest, you know.
Again, it's got like the mid artwork as well.
Yeah.
Look and feel to them.
Yeah.
When like Russ Russell started producing.
Yeah, I think Russ started then, you know. But that was, as far as I remember. So I'm sort of trying to cast my mind, but that the whole thing around that album was, you know, the idea of, on that album we kind of dealt with the whole inherited privilege. So it was critical of the monarchy, you know, at a time when, which still is, you know, you know what it's like in the UK. There's a blind devotion to the monarchy, the monarchic system sometimes, you know, of which I would like to see dismantled, you know, me personally, you know, because I don't believe in inherited privilege, you know. It's like you know, as you're in Japan, it's like, and I know this is an awkward topic in Japan to speak about, but the whole imperial structure, I think, in the end, is not conducive to equal society, you know, because it promotes ideas of that you have to have stratas of access in life, and I think it shouldn't be that way, you know. Everybody should be on the same level, you know.
Yeah. I was sort of trying to tie this record into something sort of musically again, and Russ Russell, he produced a lot of New Model Army records, I think
he did some, Russ. Yeah. I don't think he did like, he didn't do the early stuff.
No, because I've got quite a few of them, because I'm a big fan of New Model Army, and I know
me also. Yeah.
And the last few albums have been amazing, and they've got this sort of quite new bass player called Cherry Munger, and he's the brother of the drummer of ENT, like the current drummer.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, mate. You're the trivia king.
Well, I just wanted to find something interesting, to sort of tie in with all this stuff. But yeah,
mate, I didn't know that.
And he played in Death Dealers as well. Like Cherry Munger, his brother is Barney Munger, and he played in Death Dealers and Raw Noise and ENT as well.
Of course, you know what, mate. It's
and it makes sense because this Cherry bloke, he's got like red hair, and he's really brought a lot of energy into New Model Army. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes I by mistake I got put on an email with Justin, from New Model Army, and we were in a little bit of a string, and we had a little bit of a conversation. But I don't really know him, but it's like because obviously they have some dealings also with. Is it Cherry Red or Snapper or one of the other labels that used to do us,
Yeah. All right. Next one is Code is Red. Long live the Code.
Yeah. First album in the Century Media period,
That's right. Yeah.
And it's a good one. It's quite experimental. That one. It was coming after like Order of the Leech and stuff. And of course, well, Jello sings on that.
I was going to ask you about that. How did that?
Mate, I have to say, what a fucking performance he put in, man. I mean, mate, I'll tell you what, for a guy that was just doing some guest vocals on an album, put it like this, there's giving it 100% and there's doing what he did, which was like fucking 800%. He must have laid down about 60 tracks of vocal for one part. I'm not joking, and he fucking nailed it, I mean, I've got to be honest, I'm not a hero worship person, it's just not my thing in life. But I was standing outside when he did that and I was creaming my fucking pants, man. Because, again, I have, Jello's always a divisive figure, in punk circles with people. And I never quite understood that because, so for me, you got to remember, if it wasn't for him, he put his fucking arse on the line in terms of, the whole thing about censorship in the States. We were in danger, like independent music was in danger of being gagged, and suppressed artistically in terms of artwork. The penis landscape, the thing that. Jello went to court. He put his fucking arse on the line, to preserve the free expression of art, And I just find it really weird sometimes that for whatever reason, people are so fucking critical of him. I don't understand.
He got beaten up, didn't he?
He got beaten up. He got beaten up by some people for fucking cowards, I think it was at Gilman Street, actually. I mean, why? What is the purpose
of all the targets? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, you know what? If you're gonna take your frustration, take it out on the mechanisms of machinery in this world that are really doing the fucking damage. This is the problem with the punk scene sometimes, that infighting, fighting against each other, because then what you do is you nullify your presence and your ability to challenge things, when you constantly fight. That's what happened to the UK hardcore scene. We spoke about this last time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
It imploded. One of the reasons was, it's not the only reason, one of the reasons was too much of this behind each other's backs, you know what I mean? Like fucking little childish infighting and shit talking, and it was for what? Unnecessary, for no reason, and it really saddened me because I got to be honest, that early period around the Mermaid and all the other venues around the UK and stuff, that meant a lot to me. It's part of my life that I miss. It actually makes my heart fucking hurt, to not have that, and nothing lasts forever. I understand that, you know what I mean? But it was too premature, that thing kind of collapsed in on itself a bit, and it makes me pretty sad, to think about the great fucking times that I had,
I've got a little Jello story. I'll keep it really quick. When I was doing the sort of MCR back in the sort of early 90s, I just got a letter from him out of the blue, and he'd seen my distribution list, man. He was sort of, oh, you're selling all the Japanese hardcore. I love all that stuff. But there's all this other stuff, which is a bit more experimental. And he sent me a big just stack of tapes that he'd taped, and he sent them to me.
Yeah.
This is one of the records he sent me. It's by this all-girl band called Papaya Paranoia. And he actually reviewed this. He reviewed this for Maximum Rock and Roll, and I remember it. The review as well. And it's on Captain Records.
I know that. I've got a vague recollection of that. Actually,
it's kind of like I remember his review. He said it sounded like the B-52s meets No Means No.
Who's going to argue with that? Then,
it's a wild record. So when I moved to town, I found the copy because he'd sent me the tape. So he recommended me this band. So there you go.
Yeah, well, a good shout, I would suggest. Well, let's be honest, mate. Beyond the hardcore and punk stuff, there's some fascinating music in Japan. I mean, look at the obvious names. Look at Boris. I mean, I fucking love Boris.
Have you ever played with them?
Did we do any gigs with Boris? I don't think we did,
Right.
It'd be great if we did, It'd be great to do some stuff with the Boredoms, all the other obvious bands and lots of others that I can't think of right now,
Yeah. Brilliant. All right, let's move on. What's next? There we go. Smear campaign, isn't it? That's the next one.
Yeah. See, that was actually, Mike, can you excuse me for 1 second?
All right, mate.
Just give me 1 second.
All right,
I'll be back.
All right. All right, I'm going to hold the fort here. I'm going to talk about Smear campaign. Came out in 2006. I think Barney's going to give us a little bit of an insight about Smear campaign. And I'm going to have a little sip of beer. So cheers, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the show. It's great chatting with Barney. And I'm really chuffed that I sort of discovered that he was an ELO fan, because I'm quite alone. Whenever I say I like ELO, sort of almost nobody sort of agrees with me. There was, ELO, what a terrible band. So I'm quite happy, very happy that Barney is there.
Sorry, mate.
So I was just talking about ELO while you're gone, sorry.
No, it's all good. I heard you rattling away in the background, what?
Smear campaign, 2006. So,
also, I mean, following on really from the Enemy of the Music business, it's a really energetic album. It's probably a little bit less experimental than the Cody's Red. It's a little bit more straightforward than that, but it does have some wicked Swan style moments. I think for me personally, and I mean, talking about the lyrics, I mean, it was basically it wasn't just a sort of very surface critique of religion. It was basically ripping the whole concept out and saying, and effectively saying, how can you seriously suggest that that the whole mechanics of a little man in the sky is driving civic interaction between people, how that should somehow be the thing that everybody lives by. So it would just basically really kind of it's a big critique of religion, not just a small shot at it. It's digging the whole thing out with a spade, So.
Yeah. I really like the artwork on this one. I'm not sure who did it, but it's Time Waits for No Slave.
Yeah,
just love
what?
On it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, what? It's actually Mick Kenny, who was in the Birmingham Anal Knackcraft.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's him. He did that.
I love it.
So I think it's really good. It really looks good in the gold. Like the gold color. It really it really jumps out. So we were. It's there's what. One particular interesting point about that album is that, videos, when you do videos as a band, tricky, because I think you should always try and make your band 360 in terms of quality. So you should try and make everything quite strong, So some bands you might argue have really great music, but their artwork is a bit secondary, and it seems like they didn't really think about it as much as they might have, or their lyrics might not be as So we always try and do everything as strong as we can, but videos are always fucking tricky.
Right.
So but it just so happens that we did a video for the title track, so it's just us in a warehouse with, and we just we coloured it, orange and gold to go. And who did it? Do you remember the band Goober Patrol?
Yeah.
It was Tom from Goober Patrol did that video, for Time Waits and No Slave.
I've got that one.
Yeah. So Tom did it.
Bloody hell.
So and I think it's a good album, that one. Definitely. I
like them all, but This one sort of, this is one of my sort of favourites actually of the sort of more recent run.
Yeah, yeah. That's that. Again, you know, I it's hard for me to think back about the specifics musically because I just can't remember a lot of it, you know. But actually, the artist there is the guy that does the stuff now, Frody, Swedish guy. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so we wanted to do the classic collage thing, but like make it different at the just not make it as just so predictably cut and paste. So yeah, there's a few images, anti-war, anti-this, anti-that, you know. So there's a little bit of a theme to it. So you see a guy there in the middle being kicked around. So that's the idea of you as a person that lives in this world. You know, the whole idea of human cooperation has dissipated. You know, there's such a in the interests of attaining power and objects and stuff, I just feel that sometimes people will step over other people, you know, to get that, you know, and that's personally not my way. You know, I'd rather everybody has a dignified existence than just a few people, you know. So that was the whole idea of that, really, you know. But the music itself, you know, I remember, you know, it's
the Wolf I Feed was well. I think wasn't the Wolf I Feed sort of one of the singles or whatever.
Yeah. Which is actually mainly Mitch that sings on that track. And it's his track as well.
Right. Okay.
If like that song in itself is really punky, you know.
I was watching the video the other day.
Yeah, it's kind of the inspiration for that song. I can't seem remember Mitch telling me was like Subhumans. Actually, you know, the actual main riff came from a Subhumans thing that we kind of
the British Subhumans, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And John Zorn played on the track too, right, on this record?
Yeah. John Zorn played sax on Everyday Pucks. Yeah.
How did that?
Great. Yeah, mate. We, you know, on. See, here's the thing. When you're in a band, supposedly you're supposed to become more conservative as the years go on, and a little bit less adventurous. But I want to go the opposite direction. Right. I want to do shit that's so fucking mad, you know. That's you know, whatever we can dream up to do, you know. If it's mad, I'll do it. Like, you know.
Did you ever get into jazz, the free jazz and all that? Did you sort of go down that rabbit hole a bit?
You know, I would be into it, but I must admit, I never sort of manually went in and explored too deeply, but I'm sure it's got lots of things that I would
it's a deep hole, I mean,
but I am familiar with his work, definitely, you know, but the other stuff is
I've seen pictures of him playing in Japan like years ago with like members of Lip Cream and stuff.
Yeah
performances and that.
Yeah, which you know, I know he did all that stuff, and so everything ties in, you know, it's very incestuous, I suppose.
Yeah. All right, getting through it, mate. So, like, this is 5 years old already. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad. Yeah. Apex Predator. Yeah. Mate, it's, you know, alongside the new album, we just seem to have hit a sweet spot, I think. And we started to become. We were never not adventurous, certainly in the last 20 years. But I think the songwriting really started to become very focused. You know, so rather than some of the albums that you mentioned. You might be able to separate songs out on a sub sound of Napalm Death, but with those, Apex and the new album, it's like you could, if you listen to one song, you could take 4 or 5 sub styles out of it, you know, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah,
you know,
I've got sort of 2 favorite songs actually from this record, and when I checked that they're both Shane songs, which I didn't know until I went back and checked. But Hierarchies is one of them.
Yeah, which is also a very Killing Joke.
Yeah, well, I love your sort of chanting chorus in that.
Yeah,
I love that. And the other one is How the Years Condemn.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That is a really hard hitting song. I'm assuming that Shane wrote the lyrics to that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, both great songs. You know, definitely. Yeah.
So 5 years, and just in time. It came yesterday, so I haven't spent a lot.
Oh God!
There you go.
Blimey, there it is. Yeah,
just in time. But I played it last night, and Invigorating Clutch. Both me and Randy were talking last night, and he was like, Invigorating Clutch is his sort of favorite.
Funnily enough, a lot of people have mentioned that, you know, and we didn't necessarily. I mean, I really love that song from the moment Shane played it to me, and I always thought it was, you know, because it's a sludge song almost, if you want to use that, you know. It's, you know, where that came from. So Shane played me the song. Immediately, what it spoke to me musically, I was like, Amoebics meets Celtic Frost meets Slaughter. You know what I mean? The start thing was definitely Amoebics from the Arise album for me. You know what I mean? Which is why I did those chants, those very kind of almost what do you call the monks, the who chant? There's a
Gregorian?
particular Gregorian kind of chants on the start. It came from Amoebics, you know. I was like, well, that Shane played me this the acoustic part at the start. I was like, that's Amoebics, you know what I mean? You know, so I can do something that's going to really Amoebics that out, you know what I mean? So
I don't know if it's just me. I got a little bit of some of the slower songs from the Rudimentary Peni. Church, that sort of vibe as well.
Wouldn't argue with that, mate. And of course, I don't know whether it's on the vinyl, but there's a cover on there as well. There's a cover of fucking song. What's it called?
I don't think it is, mate. The bonus track on the vinyl is
Bliss or Myth.
Oh, yeah.
There's a cover of Bliss or Myth on the CD, on the Japanese CD as well, actually. There's a cover of Bliss or Myth,
So that one will be on the next edition of this, I suppose, won't it?
Oh, blimey, yeah. So I mean, mate, the artwork on that is fucking. When I first saw it, I was like, blimey, you know, that's a bit strong.
We should show the sort of gatefold as well, I suppose.
Yeah. So you know, part of the reason for this very confrontational, very visceral art is we were always a sleeve that me and Shane really love is the big black, the headache sleeve. When you open it out, it's got the shot. If I remember right, it's the shotgun victim. It was one of the very early piece of album that really was balls out like artwork wise, you know. And we're always like, let's do something that's not just for the sake of that graphic nature, but also obviously helps to move the lyrics forward, you know. So that's why we've got all those different, you know,
there's the back as well, right?
It was. I
forgot the name of the bloke who's did this. I'm sorry, mate. I forgot the
Frody.
Okay, sorry,
Frody Silth, his name. He's a Danish guy, Copenhagen. So the thing that a compilation album is, for all the albums that we put out, you don't see that many Napalm compilations coming from us, you know. And there's a reason for that. Is because, you know, I've always been of the belief that if you're going to do a compilation album, make it so it's actually worth a shit, you know what I mean? Don't give people like 10 songs of what they've already got.
This is amazing. I mean, pretty much everything I'd not heard. It's bonus tracks from Japanese. Splits.
And so me and Shane had a conversation about it when the idea of doing it came up, and I was like, we agree. I was like, Shane, let's just not do some fucking throwaway what's the point? You know, it's gonna not only make us look a bit fucking cheap, you know, it's gonna also it's me personally, it's gonna make me feel like not weird, you know what I mean? Like not it goes against the Napalm ethos, you know. So we're like, right then, let's put our minds to it and we'll get all the fucking tracks, you know, that we can think of. And with the help of the guy that does our website stuff, he was great, you know, because a lot of the stuff I couldn't even remember, you know, that he came up with, you know. So he should get a mention in that, you know. So.
Yeah, I showed this last because it sort of brings it back to the sort of hardcore punk thing, because there's some like the Gipopel,
Dutch band,
and what else? There was the Cardiacs cover as well on it, right?
We did Giants. We did Giants or Gangs, or however you pronounce it.
Gauze, Sacrilege.
Sacrilege.
And Despair. I must admit, I'm not familiar.
That was the German band. Okay, that was that. Right. Well, what that was. Century Media asked us to pick a track from their back catalogue, and I must be honest, we were struggling a little bit. You know, we don't want to cover this. We don't want to. So we did Despair, which was one of those early German thrash bands.
All right.
They're like a thrash in the purest sense, you know. Right. So that's what we were like. Okay, we'll do this, you know. So that's what we did, you know.
Wow. All right. Brilliant. So, mate, anything on the horizon coming up?
Not as such. No. We did have some gigs, which I think I spoke about last time. But mate, they've gone. You know, with the situation in Europe right now, I don't know if you've sort of noticed, but the infection rates here are going through the roof, man. Do you know what I mean? So we are not far away from being locked down again. You know, I think.
Isn't Paris back on lockdown? Big part of
France is on a national lockdown. Yeah. And all the rest of Europe's going to go that way pretty soon, I think. So, what about Japan? Is there any noticeable?
I mean, it's still sort of better. I think here in Osaka, we had this week. It's been over 100 every day, which is the most it's been since August.
Yeah.
But you know, not big figures in the big picture, but it is sort of going back up again. You know, like so.
Yeah, I think worldwide there is it's starting to like go up quite a lot again, you know, so we shall see where that goes. But yeah, our gigs are off right now, so I've got nothing to tell, mate, on that front, unfortunately, you know.
Well, I really hope we can see you again in Japan next year.
Mate, I you know, I like I say, you know, I miss it so much, and I've been coming for years and years, and you know what, there's probably a lot of people that I know of, you know, that I haven't met yet, and it would be really nice to make some more friends over there, you know. You know, I mean, you know Randy, you know, we should mention Randy, you know, who we did the collaboration.
He was talking about, you know, he was talking about maybe you want to do another beer again, sort of next year. Hopefully.
I mean, the idea being is that what we're trying to do, and we've spoke about it a little bit, we're trying to like construct some sort of loosely speaking, like benefit charity organization where everything we do benefits that we would argue the neglected in Japan, you know. So the last beer that came out, the last two beers that came out were for homeless people in Japan, who, let's be honest, are the unseen, unheard people in Japan, you know. And as for anybody else who's homeless anywhere else in the world, that's not right, you know what I mean? So we at least want to do something to help them. We also got plans to, because of course, also single mothers in Japan, there is also a little bit of a stigma. So we want to raise some money for some single mother help organizations, you know. We actually want to do something for the surviving victims of the A-bombs, you know, because those people, as far as I've learned in documentaries and from people that, and Guy, actually, me and Guy spoke about Guy from
well, last time we talked about it a little bit time, and people were, you know, saying they were a little bit annoyed because I couldn't remember Hikabusha. It's the name of the survivors. Sorry, I didn't mention it last time, but sorry. So
that's right. So I'm going to, one of the ideas that I had, and me and Randy discussed it, was to do some kind of benefit thing for those the victims of the A-bombs, because there's still a stigma. I mean, I must admit, you know, I don't get it, because why would you shut somebody out who's been a victim of something, who's a survivor of something like that? It's almost like the ancient thing about leprosy. You know, people would shun lepers and put them in their own colonies so they didn't have to be around them. To a certain extent, these people are victims of something, of a heinous weapon, you know, that was unleashed upon Japan, you know.
Well,
and
there's a sort of
these people need assistance. They don't need to be shunned. They need assistance, you know. And for what it's worth, I know it's only a little bit, and I'm not trying to put us on a pedestal or something like that, but you know what? If we can help in any way, then I'd like to. You know what I mean? Why? I'm a human being, you know, why wouldn't I? You know, so why wouldn't we? Should I say, you know?
I was going to say it's a little bit similar in Fukushima as well. It's all very much brushed under the carpet. You never see anything on the news.
I mean, I'm sure those people that lived around the nuclear plant, I'm pretty sure that I think I heard something that where they've been resettled, they're almost outcasts within where they've resettled. I think a lot of them
they're still living in little sort of fabricated homes.
Yeah, I mean, how is it their fucking fault? You know that they were they had this situation thrust upon them. You know, I mean, how can it ever reasonably be their fault to any degree? You know, it's ridiculous. You know.
Yeah, it's yeah. All right, mate. It's been lovely to talk to you again.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, you know, and I'm always up for another if you want to do another.
Part 3.
Yeah, mate. Just let me know when, man, and we'll get it done. Yeah. We'll do it, mate. You know, I love it. You know, I'll talk all day long about anything. You know, I think the art of conversation is a beautiful thing, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just sort of love having a chat. You know, not sort of really interview, just having a chat.
Yeah, no. Yeah, sure, mate. Yeah, definitely. So I must remember, is it Burning Sky, did you say, the brewery?
Yes, it's Burning Sky.
Yeah.
And it's in a little town called Firle, F-I-R-L-E.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to look that up, mate, as soon as I'm off, you know. Yeah, I'm going to
I think. So,
yeah, mate, I'll go down there. I'll go down there and have a look. Maybe next week, actually, assuming there's any kind of accessibility into it at the minute.
Yeah, they've got a website with all the information on it and everything, so.
Yeah, sure, great, fantastic.
I have one for me.
All right, mate. All the best to you.
Halo.
Yeah, and all the best to anybody that might be interested in this, and you know, in Japan that's looking, and you know, anybody that is looking, you know, when I'm around, I'm always. I know this might sound a bit trite, but I'm always willing to, you know, make more friends and stuff. You know, it's always great. And if anybody's looking and they ever want to meet up, you know, I'm always generally around Thrash Zone, or if I'm in Tokyo, you know, I can be found in bloody what's the name of the pub on Dogen Zakaway in Shibuya? There's a fucking pub there that's
not the one that's got a lot of records behind the counter. No.
Yeah, maybe.
Not a punk pub.
I think it translates to 7 Circles. I always used to go there. Oh no, I can't remember the fucking name of it for the life of me, and I wish I could. It's opposite the Dubliners bar. Do you know the Dubliners pub? It's right opposite there. It's right opposite there on Dogen Zakaway. There's a bar there. It's a fusion of old school meets modern izakaya.
All right.
You know, but it's a really great, really friendly place. You know, very alternative.
I might be going to Tokyo in December. Actually, I'm going to stay with Randy. So.
Yeah, Randy knows what I'm talking about. He's been there with me, you know, so he knows it, you know. So yeah, anybody that might be looking, you know, if ever I'm in Japan, always willing to meet new people and you know, like gain friends and stuff, because that's what makes the world go round, you know. So you know, be great to meet people, you know.
Hopefully soon, next year.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
All right, mate.
Okay, brilliant, mate. All right, Mikey. Just let me know when you want to, you know, when you're ready, and I'm ready, mate. You know,
cheers, mate.
So, all right, Maka. Take it easy.
All right.
Cheers. See you later.
Stay healthy.
Sayonara. See you later. Bye bye. Yeah. See ya.